Today we're talking with Andy Nguyen. He is our sous chef at Peace Health St. Joseph Medical Center in Bellingham, Washington. Andy, thanks so much for taking the time. And we're a food service provider. We're a contract management company. So what that means is that we serve a lot of different clients. We serve all over the nation, and we get this really unique opportunity to serve within the healthcare space. And I think this is one of the best kept secrets of the culinary industry, is to get to work within healthcare, especially for culinarians. It's this really great mix of providing a cafe, so a traditional restaurant service experience where we're serving both healthcare professionals, guests who come to the hospital, and then people from the surrounding area within the community if the hospital is open for service. And then we also serve patients. So we get to really dive into the science of food, the nutritions, all these different diets that we get to provide food for. And we have menus for those patients that are seasonal, and we have chefs and dietitians that come together to create those menus and keep them fresh and looking good. And then our teams all come together and make both styles of service happen. So cafe and what we call front of house, as well as patient services, which go to patients who are staying at the hospital for extended periods of time and need in-room, like room service. That's the model that we provide. So Andy, how long have you been with Thomas Cuisine, and what are some of your starting background for your time in food service?
Yeah, so I got two opportunities to work with Thomas Cuisine early on in my culinary career about 11 years ago. I started a job where I am now at St. Joseph's Medical Center in Bellingham, and I was a part of the team that actually was the start of bringing in Thomas Cuisine for the first time. So it was really awesome to see that big change, because change is always hard for people sometimes, and it's scary. But when um, Cuisine came in, we brought the values that we initiate in food. It was just a life changing experience. Moved forward 11 years later, I kind of went around in my career, did a lot of other things, had an opportunity to come back, and it was an instant no brainer, honestly. The missions, the real food movement, all those things that I think people don't necessarily associate with hospital food every day. We get to shine every day and do some really amazing things. So.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about that change that you're referencing, because hospital food has some stigma around it. It's been the punchline of many jokes over the years. And when we say it's one of the better kept secrets of the culinary industry, I don't think that people quite anticipate the level of food and service that you can get from a hospital. So tell me about that change going with Thomas Cuisine, and describe the food that you can normally see at your establishment.
Yeah, I think that, when you hear hospital food, you think of, people don't think about food when they go to a hospital. They think about, anytime you refer hospital, it's either you're sick or something happened or you're visiting, and the last thing you think about is food. And, talking to a lot of people, even till today, when I bring up hospital food, they almost give it a very, uh, poor look on it. But I said, it's that's not how it's like. We do here. We're fortunate around our team. We push the bar a lot. We do. The team that Nick and I work with, they believe in what we do in with the foods that we bring in, and the ingredients we're using or the recipes. It really drives them because they get excited cooking it as well. It's not just instant mashed potatoes or pre-made this or frozen this. It's fresh mashed potatoes made every day. I taste them every day. There is an amazing difference. Fresh chicken broth that we make from chicken bones, or like today's Pho Friday, we make our own pho broth, and apparently we had a new record today. So those little things that you don't necessarily think of pho, a traditional noodle soup being served in a hospital setting. So.
Right. And to touch on some of our ingredients, so we function around the principle of real foods. And so our recipes are house recipes. We're not just Googling recipes to serve to patients, it's really important that our ingredients are really clean, they're fresh, they're seasonal, because it offers the highest level of nutrients. Because as a healthcare partner, food is a type of medicine that can heal you on your journey after the multiple things that people are having done at hospitals when they have to stay. So when we use these real ingredients and our recipes, so for a pho dish, like what's your process of making pho, for instance?
So it starts 36 hours the day before. Our beef starts with marrow bones, chicken bones. So if anybody doesn't know what pho is, it's this very traditional Vietnamese soup that takes hours, 24 hours, 30 hours to make. It simmers overnight. A lot of steps. And when I first came back and I realized we were making it, I was a little worried because like, oh, are we really doing the steps to a traditional fun? And you know, Khan does not skip a beat. He clarifies all the bones, takes all the impurities out, adds a new fresh water, builds that broth. We use all these aromatic, fresh ingredients, herbs, coriander, star anise, whole cinnamon sticks. It's a real treat every Friday, and it's a tradition that's been going on longer than I've been around here, and people just absolutely love it. And the lines we had earlier were pretty busy today, and it's like that every Friday. And it just gives people something excited because they know if what Friday's coming. They say it's the best fun, the cheapest fun in town, so they're
Right.
not lying.
And that's one of the benefits of when you get to partner with someone like our company. It's That's our job, is to find the best ingredients, the best recipes. You mentioned Con, and his recipe is a traditional Vietnamese recipe that he shared with us for review to use at the hospital. So it is from hand sliced vegetables and house broths, and made at a large scale. So when that's created, you can taste the difference. That's why it's so popular. So as
So
a
I
chef, hmm,
every Friday morning, instead of coffee or tea, I will get a 12-ounce coffee cup and I will get pho broth as my first start of the day every Friday.
I would do
So
that too. Absolutely, hands down.
it's
I would
pretty
absolutely do
spoiling.
that.
So
Yeah, as a chef, you're a sous chef for Thomas Cuisine. You do a lot of the chef management. Um, Planning menus, sourcing ingredients, making sure those ingredients are prepped and ready for the day, the week, getting patient lines taken care of, and getting front of house taken care of for that traditional recipe or traditional restaurant service. So from a chef perspective, because you've been doing this since you were 16, right? You've been working in the restaurant industry since 16.
yep.
So you've gone through the whole working your holidays, working what feels like 24/7, not having that work-life balance, or, maybe benefits or support of a company fully behind you. So as a chef, when you hear, oh, I'm going to be cooking hospital food, is it actually a legit field for a culinary artist to consider? If you're a chef or you're a culinarian, you love food, you want to work with it, and you want to work with the premium ingredients with people who are trained, who are professional culinarians, and you want to grow, how could you even know to look towards hospitals or look towards food management companies to give you that leg up?
Well, I think I tell everybody, it's regardless if it's a restaurant, hospital, it's like you can cook whatever you want to cook. If you want to make your own bread, if you want to make your own noodle, if you want to make your own broth, you can do it. You just want to have to do it. Working in restaurants, it's you have this whole aspect of I come from a lot of fine dining, a lot of high-paced restaurants where you're just turning and burning for hours, high quality food, and you're kind of almost like military trained. So when you're in a setting with, when you refer to hospital food, just, you know, you can make whatever food you want to make. Um, and that's what I tell everybody when we do our, Nick and I sit down and do recipes. We push the bar and we try to do things that you might not see in a hospital setting because of, the experiences we've had in restaurants and stuff like that. It just gives an opportunity to highlight those things and show people that, you know, hospital food doesn't have to be, mashed potatoes and gravy every single day. We're doing a complete overhaul on our patient service menu right now, and I'm really excited to share with everybody when we're done with it because it's does not look like hospital food.
No, it doesn't. I can certainly attest to that. On our Instagram, we feature a lot of the work that comes from Peace Health St. Joseph in Bellingham, your location, because your presentation is really unique. It's always really fresh. It doesn't matter what's being served. It's always got some sort of fresh garnishment. It's super colorful, and it's from ingredients that have been thoughtfully prepared. So tell me a little bit about the impact that your meals make on patients, how preparing that food in a beautiful way helps them and helps the workers who come to the front of house as well.
Well, absolutely. We work in a hospital healthcare setting, so that's either good or bad depending on the day. Our caregivers, they work tirelessly. They have to be the bearer of good news, bad news, and when they walk into the cafe, something as a pre-made salad that we made fresh with fresh lettuce and grilled chicken, a Caesar salad, or today we had fresh fish and chips every Friday. We hand dip, something that is exciting because like going back to people don't remember food and like it's like sometimes the last thing they look at, but when you can change that perspective is like, oh, I have to go get lunch. It's like, well, I'm gonna go get lunch because it's like the highlight of my day because it's Pho Friday, or we have a lot of vegetarian options as well. We try to be diverse and give a little uh, diversity to everybody and a lot of cultures. So it just makes it exciting.
Tell me how you got started. What inspired you to get into food service? Tell me your history with food and why you work with it today.
It's funny that we're serving pho today because that's I remember when I was 6 years old, like that's when my mom taught me how to make pho, and that's what it started like clarifying the bones, making sure the broth was clear, like those little steps, growing up we weren't super fortunate at times and we didn't have cable, and I remember we had like 13 channels and all I remember was channel 9, and as I grew up I realized it was PBS, but like during that time, it was like watching like Julia Childs, Ming Tsai, Jacques Pepin, all these Wolfgang Puck, all these chefs back then kind of developing their skill sets. Now they're like the greatest chefs of all time, and it's like little did I know growing up, I wasn't watching Sesame Street. I was watching some of the greatest cooks start their careers, and that really kicked off my career. When you rely on food, going to the food bank and getting your own food, it really has a connection. My parents were, they did their best. They tried everything they could. They gave us everything we needed, not everything we wanted. And I thank them for that every day, because it really transitions to how what I do in life and just how I approach it, and um, but
So
yeah, just
your parents immigrated here from Vietnam, is that right?
correct in 1976.
1976. And so you grew up with their cultural influence plus living in America as well and growing up
Correct.
there and then having these influences of Julia Child and what are now very classic and renowned chefs. So you had that influence. Tell me about Feed the Need. How does all of this wrap into um, this idea around you came up with this concept called Feed the Need, started back in 2010, it looks like, and it goes towards like feeding the homeless. It is November 2021 as we're recording this, and BC is flooding. It's flooding massively. There are people in northern Washington as well. Geographically, Bellingham is in that northern portion of Washington state. And so people are highly impacted. So, where did that passion come from? What is Feed the Need, and what are you hustling to do this weekend?
Feed the Need, it was that same, just working in restaurants and seeing like food waste that, and just food that, and just being around food and, growing up not having food and being able to help, and when I started it, it was just I would cook for the food bank. I'd go to the food bank and set up a booth. Didn't have any news cameras. It wasn't about anything. It was just feeding people in need. I mean, when you're standing in line with a box at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you get turned away because they ran out of food. The food banks these days are amazing. I can't, if anybody, needs support, like our Bellingham Food Bank is, and they are amazing. But back back then, it was sometimes, I remember we had a number and it was 6. And I didn't know what that number meant till I was growing up. But 6 meant how many people were in your family. So you would go up with your box, present your number to the gentleman or the missus who was helping you. You give them, your number. They'll give you the appropriate amount of food, and um, I just thought it was cool. I was like, hey, sweet, expired Cheerios or marshmallow. Like one time, I got like a cake, that was expired. When you're a kid, a whole cake is amazing, but just always having that experience, and I guess my parents, culture, they taught me always to help others. And, that's a lot of my mom and my dad, and so I remember I was in Mount Vernon at a restaurant, and we would always do caterings. And oh, actually, it wasn't when I was in Seattle. I parked next to a soup kitchen. That's where my parking lot was because it was the cheapest parking in Seattle. So I would literally park my car in the soup kitchen and walk by the soup kitchen every day. And then I would get off about 2 in the morning in this empty soup kitchen. And what really hit me were there was, homeless people sleeping on the concrete dividers that you separates our vehicles. So, when you see that at 2 in the morning, like that really affects you, and as when you're someone that could cook and help, um, it really touches areas in your heart that you didn't even know you had. So that's where it really, really, really crafted it because, I was working at a very fancy hotel in downtown Seattle, yet, 100 meters away, we had people sleeping on curbs at 2 in the morning. So that kind of really what started it. And then what really lit it was I can actually do it. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. There's like if you have a propane burner, a pot of soup, whether it's sandwiches or whatever, um, you know, no one's gonna judge you for giving them a free meal. They're not gonna be like, well, I wanted steak and potatoes. They're like, it wasn't all fancy all the time. I remember one time at the food bank, I did omelets to order. That was a very long day, but it was super cool. That was one of the, we fed about 350 people. We made an omelet like you would go to a golf and country club. Like, hey, I'll take onions. I mean, it treated them like just normal, and that's the thing. Some of these people that are displaced, they're, um, you know, some of them just need to catch a break, and a hot meal can just turn their whole perspective of the day around. And that's what's really cool is just when you hear some of these stories and then they they just break down. Like when I one time real quick, I did a barbecue. I was feeding barbecue at this event. I ran out of barbecue sauce, and someone in line had one of my pulled pork sandwiches. And towards the end of the day, I ran out of barbecue sauce. I kid you not. This person went to the store and they bought a bottle of Kraft barbecue sauce with their own money, with probably not a lot of money. And they said, I heard you were out of barbecue sauce. I wanted to go get some so that my brothers and sisters could try the barbecue today too. I mean, like that, literally, I was just like, it was just so touching. So and that's what
I
feeds it. That's what feeds it today. It just keeps going. I can't do it as much as I'd like to with protocols going right now and everything, but it just branched out to, firehouses, EMTs, nurses, teachers, anybody who needs an upper hand. So, and yes, right
that's
now with the flooding is is crazy. We're seeing abnormal flooding. A lot of people are displaced. They've already reached out to us actually at the hospital. If we were able to cater for people this weekend, we'd offered our services already, and whatever is anybody's needed, we're definitely there. So
I think that speaks a lot toward your humbleness and your compassion for people, and when it comes to looking around and seeing how you can be of service. I think those of us in the food service and hospitality industry, that's a huge part of our jobs, is that we look around and say, well, how can I help? How can I make your day better? How can I give you the choice in your food? Not that here's a box and that's what you get today. You get to build your own omelet, and that's a luxury. And I think all of us have probably felt that uplift of having a good hot meal and and a friendly face to give it to you. So just real quick, when you're preparing to do a Feed the Need event, how do you pick your location? How do you get your ingredients? And it would kind of be like a pop-up diner, sort of, so you could basically do it anywhere. It sounds like you're pretty mobile with it. So what's that
okay.
process?
Yeah, I always ask for permission to go somewhere because you want to ask for permission. I usually go over like the food banks and kind of places that obviously I volunteer some places that I always try to make sure it's safe. But most of the time the funds that come from this just come from my own pocket. If there's a donation, great, but it's like, when you work with food, we can take something as cheap as like pulled pork, and you can feed a lot of people for not a lot of money. Pulled pork coleslaw on a bun goes a very long way for not a lot of money. Um, but it's just kind of look at the scenario and just go from there. Like this weekend, so there's people doing like a spaghetti feed. We're thinking about feeding 400 people out in Everson this weekend. Um, it's like I said, no one's gonna deny a hot meal. So
Right. Right. And again, that responsiveness, see a need, have a skill. I can do it. What's stopping me? I really
right, that's
I
it.
think that's the
That is honestly it. It's when I first started this, I was just doing it from in my kitchen. Just is that properly safe? It's like but in the end, it's like the goal is like I want to just cook for people. I don't want any recognition. I don't want any newspaper. I don't want anything in it. I'm just here to cook for people. I remember a couple times I'd show up and they're like, well, if they're gonna turn me away for feeding people like on my time and like they can tell the 400 people in line that because
right.
we're gonna have to deal with them. So
I our chefs, that's a consistency, is that I've seen our chefs, they just hustle. It's like they've worked all week and then we'll cook some more during the weekend. It's really neat. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for serving the community and stepping in where you can, doing the
yeah,
things that
anybody
we see you can. It's cool.
anybody wants or wants to help or wants how you can do it in your city or your community, let me know. So
Certainly. Um, I do want to touch on, there's this really cool thing that you do, which is participate in competitions, which is always really fun. We really like seeing your pictures and how fresh everything looks and how creative and ingenuitive. And this year, this is our second year participating as a company. So we have all these different locations. We serve clients and we're the contractor for food service. And so we have healthcare without harm. And that this is competition where participants are going to come up with a recipe that actually has to be used in a healthcare setting. Last year, our team at Davis in Salt Lake City, Utah, they were finalists for their dish that they came up with, a tempura taco, and it was plant forward. So um, all the nutritionals in the recipe, all of that is accounted for, and it's a viable option for patient services. And you are a participant in that this year. And I want to hear about what you're bringing, Tell me what you chose, why, what does it look like? Describe the taste for me because I can't be there to try it, but tell me about your recipe that you're going to use for Healthcare Without Harm.
Yeah, so we entered a vegetarian poke bowl. Um, I love traditional poke with raw fish, all the vegetables, the textures, right? I mean, it's so many textures in a dish that I thought it was so cool to highlight without um, that could make it kind of vegetarian. So it's basically, so we took beets. Beets have a bad rap. People think, beets they taste too earthy. I don't like them. But we took an ingredient that is very, very health beneficial, a lot of nutrients in them, and we treated it like traditional ahi tuna, marinating it in, shoyu, garlic, scallion, sesame, some chili, and when you kind of dice that up, it kind of reminisces like chunks of tuna. So I thought, this is like genius. I'm eating this, like, this is awesome. And it fit perfectly. And it revolves around rice, which is really important in my culture, obviously. And a lot of people forget that how filling a rice can be and what you can do to build around that. So that's what this dish centers around is some sticky rice, and then we got the shoyu beets on it. There's pickled cucumbers, radishes, jalapenos. What else is there? Carrots, cucumbers, kind of your traditional poke ingredients. And it's a very vibrant. I should have took a picture of it or something, but maybe we can put it on here somehow.
Yeah.
But it's a very vibrant bowl, and I think what attracted everybody to it, when we were serving in the cafeteria, was like, that does not look like that belongs in a hospital right now. It's that's too pretty to eat. And that's just a philosophy that our team has here. Is like you eat with your eyes first. It's very cliche to say that, but it's the truth. When you see something that looks good, you are going to go get that. And I don't mean that has to be a steak. It could be a BLT sandwich. If you see a sandwich that's half toasted to one that's perfectly toasted, you're probably going to be more intrigued than the one that's like perfectly toasted. The bacon's crispy, the lettuce is green. Um, so that's all important. The dish, shout out to, Chef Ryan and Steve. When I worked with them in Seattle, they really brought their Hawaiian roots and really showed me about those flavors, and I just fell in love with the Hawaiian flavors. I think it's really fresh, really vibrant, and it plays in everything that our mission follows. And so revolving a dish around that doesn't cost a whole lot to make. It's not very complicated, and most of the ingredients we probably have in our walk-ins right now: fresh vegetables, rice, soy sauce, garlic, ginger. So it was something that I didn't want to go out and do something super creative that might didn't get replicated at other accounts or something. I wanted to do something that, hey, anybody can do this. So when we do food, like, I want to make it, yes, it's presented really well, but you can do it too. It's not like, a chef made it. I can't make it at home. Anybody can make it. So.
Certainly. I really like that. I like that creativity, definitely with the plant forward. I think that's so great to have beets, which are that beautiful, vibrant, juicy red, and then seeing. I've seen pictures. I saw the photos that you submitted for the competition, and it is vibrant. It is well plated, super fresh ingredients. So you're gonna get that sticky tackiness of the sticky rice is really comforting, has a really great feel to it. The crunchiness of the vegetables, the bright greens, the oranges, the beets, mimicking that bright, fresh tuna feel to it. So that's really exciting. I think I would certainly be curious if I saw that. I would certainly want to try it just because who's had a
What's really
vegetarian poke bowl?
What's really exciting behind it too is, like, people think like, well, you took a picture of it, so that's why it looks pretty. Actually, we made a display of it, and when Shane and I were doing it out in the cafe, like, everyone that we were doing like looked like that. Like, he put his heart and soul into it, and um, you know, our caregivers get a really kick about like presenting good food too, and they want to learn and see like, wow, like all these like plating techniques, that's so cool. Like yesterday for the char siu pork, we were doing radish flowers and leek garnishes, with the odd ends of leeks that we would throw in stock or discard, we would turn them into flowers, and they get a really good kick out of that and have fun with it. So
So when you think about healthcare without harm, I like to kind of flex that to food service without harm, or patient services without harm. When it comes to food, what does it feel like? What where does your thought go to making food that doesn't harm?
not everything is revolved around animal products. You can make healthy, filling food, make it look exciting and vibrant. Grains, tofu. It's how you treat it, using that experience you have with diverse cultures. I mean, we have tofu on our dish, probably or on our menu 2 times a week, 3 times a week. It changes it up. Sometimes it's like a stir fry. One time Nick created like a coconut panko crusted tofu that was amazing. And it's just like hospital food, tofu kind of gets a bad rap as well. And when you highlight those ingredients in certain ways that people may or not think about, you can do it. um, it just creates a whole new ballpark. Lentil cakes or making risotto cakes. You think about risotto, arborio rice with a bunch of stock. We created, like nice risotto cakes with some mushrooms on it and cheese that we can't keep up with because it's like a whole different form of food, yet there's not one single animal product in it.
Right.
I mean, no eggs. I mean, no dairy. I mean, it's just crazy. So.
When you think about your career and what you're doing now, you're obviously inspired. You're working hard to stay relevant, to stay creative, and to serve where you are and in your community. What do you think is the most meaningful part of your career?
Right now, it's, with the last 2 years with everything that's going on, like right now, it's, I've cooked the fine dining, I've cooked the lines, there's always a part of that deep down you always miss. But right now, like we do about 1,500 to 2,000 meals a day here at Peace Health. And whether it's cliche. My parents wanted me to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor, but cooking for patients, like you have a sense that you're saving their life in a way. You know, if they just got out of a surgery and they are on clear broth liquid and like you're feeding them, maybe not directly, maybe not cooking for them, but I mean, it you're cooking in a healthcare environment, and you're feeding caregivers, doctors, nurses that are working 18 hours a day, two shifts in a row to save lives, and they need nutrients to save lives. I'm really good when we work out in the cafe or at the front lines. I like to read kind of how the caregiver looks and how their day going. You can kind of see if someone's a little tired, and you just try to communicate with them and cheer them up. And sometimes it's the food that really kind of they get excited to. So that means a lot right now because it's more than just cooking. Because you're doing a lot more than you think. So.
You are. Um, Food is one of those languages that when words fail, when time together isn't possible, if you can gain access to that thoughtfully made hot dish, it really does lift your spirits. It means a lot, and you can taste that difference. And there's a big contrast between getting fast food or having someone, if you can't even talk, if you're just so tapped out. And so many people right now are. So many people are just like, I am so tired. It's been a hard couple years. If you can get that plate of food, someone gives you just the smallest smile and they go and enjoy it, and so that they can get through the rest of their day. That's really great. I'm glad you're cognizant of that, and that that's a part of your day. I have some final quick questions for you. So real quick, Andy, these are rapid fire style questions that I want to ask you. So whatever comes to your mind first, that's the name of this portion of our conversation. So, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear real food?
Real food, fresh, homemade, like putting your heart and soul into it, like whether it's chicken broth, when we make tamale, whatever it is, but just fresh ingredients, and not only cook properly but present it really well too. Like I said, making it look like real and vibrant and attractive. So
Great. What's a meal that reminds you of home?
it's gotta be pho. I know we brought up pho a lot, but it's the hot topic today. So every Friday we make it's like hey, this is where it all started. So it's really
Great. The biggest impact you can make at work?
the biggest impact at work is just showing a presence, and just being. I think we're grateful with our management team here. We're all very hands-on. No job is above any of us. And when we come up with recipes and ideas, Nick and I, like, we have our teams involved. It's not just like, hey, this is what we're doing this week. They get to make changes. They get to have a voice. They get to, well, how about this? Or how about that? Or um, make their own changes or whatever. It just makes a good team environment. So.
Great. The best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice I've ever been given, listen to the people around you, because you can learn so much from people. Um, listen to the people around you. So,
Great. The most surprising thing you've learned about food?
um, the misleading information sometimes on labels, I'm a diabetic, and sometimes, I remember when learning how to read labels, it was like, oh, I can eat this, this, and this, and wait a second, no, no, you can't have this, this, and this, because um, sometimes they sneak some things in there and they'll hide artificial ingredients in the middle, or so that's probably one of the big things for me is just the misleading of ingredients.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add? Anything that you'd like us to be aware of before we wrap up our conversation?
No, I think it's good. I think that, if just have fun and be creative, and don't be afraid to push the bar. I mean, we cook every day, and sometimes things work, sometimes don't, but then you take notes and you go from there. And I say would, don't be afraid to try something new. Listen to your caregivers. We have a cafe survey that our um, retail manager Michelle takes care of, and she informs us a lot of, like mac and cheese. A lot of people wanted mac and cheese, like, so much that we started a mac and cheese bar every once a week. And just don't be afraid to push the bar, and just sell it to your teams, and show them that, let them see it, and believe in it and have a voice, and you can do it. So
Great. Well, thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciated this time together. I wish you all the best this weekend. I hope
yeah.
you get to cook and
Stay
feed a bunch of
dry.
people and that everyone makes it out okay during the floods. And I hope to see you soon sometime.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you, Andy.